Hello, everyone. Judy Clock here at Stampin' with Crafty Clock. Thank you so much for either joining me live tonight or watching on replay. If you are watching on replay, go ahead and put down hashtag replay so I know that you've watched it after the live demo. But tonight I'm starting my 4-week series on sweet and simple Christmas cards. These are going to be cards that are going to be really easy to make, but yet they will still be very pretty and very fun for you to give. So I hope that hey, Tanya. So I hope that you'll go ahead and watch these. I will put the measurements in the description tomorrow because by the time I get done tonight, it's a little late. So I'll go ahead and I'll update the description tomorrow. I'll put in all the measurements for you. And if you place an order of $50 or more on my website, again, I'll put the link in the description. If you place an order of $50 or more by Monday, October 31st, I will send you all the cardstock and envelopes that you would need to make the 5 cards that we're going to make this evening. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is made with the Handmade Wishes stamp set. And it's really, really simple. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with a base of real red. This is 4.5. I'm sorry. This is 5.5 by 8.25. I've scored it at 4.25. Back up. This is 5.5 by 8.5. I have scored it at 4.25. Then I have a piece of our basic white for the inside. This is 4 by 5.25. I have a piece of shaded spruce. This is 5 by 3.75. And then I have a piece of our basic white that is 3.75. I'm sorry, 4.75 by 3.5, 3.25, 3.5. This is why I'm going to write everything down because I'm losing my mind. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So this is this. Oh, I meant to switch my desk. Hold on. I always forget. I meant to make the desk bigger. There we go. So this is the stamps that they're going to use. And I'm going to use this outline stamp, which we're going to use to create that fun background. Now you can use either the solid lines or you can use the dotted lines. The choice is yours, but we're going to use these background stamps. And the first thing I'm going to use shaded spruce, and I am going to use real red. So I'm going to open these. And now I'm just going to move the rest of my cardstock out of the way. And because these are photopolymer stamps, I am going to use a Stampin' Pierce mat, but I'm going to place it underneath my scrap paper because some of these images will be actually stamped off of this white, and I don't want to get it on my Stampin' Pierce mat. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to make sure that I have put that on there correctly. Now, you could stamp it as a square. You can stamp it as a diamond, whatever you choose. I'm going to stamp it kind of like a diamond. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stamp my red one first. And it doesn't matter if you do the top or the bottom first. So I'm going to stamp that. Now, before I stamp any more red, I'm going to stamp a green one right above the red one. And the reason I did it this way was to make sure I had room on each side for all of the others. So this one is going to be in shaded spruce. Okay, I'm just going to stamp that up. And I'm just going to kind of match it up here. Okay, now I'm going to keep it in the shaded spruce. I'm going to stamp one over here to the right and one over here to the left. Okay, I'm going to clean my ink pad. I'm going to stamp a red one up here and another red one over here. Okay, and that is just creating sort of that background image that we're going to put. Now we're going to stamp one more of these little green, I guess, squares, diamonds, whatever you want to call them, on a piece of scrap paper because we're going to punch those out with the matching punch. So I'm going to stamp one more right here. Okay. And we're going to stamp that with a punch. Now I actually want to stamp 2 more things. On the inside, I'm going to decorate the inside. We've got these little red holly berries, and we've got the holly leaf. So I'm just going to put those on a block, and now I'm going to stamp my holly berries. And I'm going to stamp these in opposite corners. I'm going to stamp like one down here, and I'm going to stamp one up here. Now you see I have a really big block and a very little stamp, so I've gotten ink on it. So I just have to be careful not to rock it. I'm just going to stamp it right down and lift it up so I don't get any extraneous ink on my paper. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing with the holly leaf. Again, it's a little stamp on a big block. And I'm just going to stamp this around kind of like 3 times. Again, some of this will go off the paper. Some of it won't. Some of it will stay on the paper. All right, I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm just kind of matching up the stem of the holly leaves with like the little dip in the berries, I guess, if you want to call it that. Okay, and that is all of the stamping that we are going to do for this card. So I told you this is going to be very quick and easy. It's not a lot of stamping. Okay, we're keeping it just to these 2 colors, which we'll see again in our next series of cards. All right, now we're ready to go ahead. Let me just put everything away. All right, I always like to put stuff away as I go so I don't lose it. All right, now we're ready to assemble our card. Let me move this out of the way for now. All right, I'm going to put this on the inside of our card. If I can find my Stampin' seal. Okay. So where are you all watching from this evening? I know Tanya's up in Maryland. And I'd love to see where everybody is coming from. I can see all the comments as they come in. So be sure to say hello. Let me know that you're here. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount this piece on our green. Got a little, I'm going to turn that around that way. And we're going to cover up that little spot there. I'm going to cover that up with our punched out piece. Whenever you have like a little spot or something, you can always cover it with a ribbon, a punch, die cut, an embellishment. All right, so there we go. Now we're ready to go ahead. I'm just going to put that right on there on the front of our card. So, I mean, these are really, really traditional Christmas colors. Okay, just red and green. Okay, there we go. Now, remember, we had this piece. There is a matching punch to the Handmade Wishes. This is the Handmade tag punch. And I am just going to go and line this up and punch it out. Now, when you're using our punches and you're punching out a stamped piece, you definitely want to sort of hold it upside down so you can see where you're punching. Oh, and you know what? I lied. We have more stamping to do. I totally forgot. All right, so now we're going to stamp Merry Christmas. And here's what I like to do. I like to line it up on my piece of paper so I know where it's going to be. Okay. Merry Christmas. And then I'm just going to pick this both up with our block. Okay. Let me not knock that down. And I wanted my Stampin' here. So I can use this without the paper on top because it's not going to stamp off of my cardstock. All right. I'm going to stamp this there. Merry Christmas. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp a little Christmas tree. And these are all images in our stamp set. I totally forgot about stamping this in here. I'm going to put the little Christmas tree just underneath it. There we go. All right, now I'm going to cut a piece of our ribbon. This is just some of our red and garden green combo pack. This is in the mini catalog. And I am going to cut probably about, I don't know, 6 inches. Okay. Where did I put my scissor? And I always like to cut it on the diagonal just to kind of make it look a little fancy. Now I am going to add some adhesive to the back of this piece because we're going to stick our ribbon on that adhesive. Okay, so I'm going to kind of fold that over, and then I'm just going to kind of put it like that. Okay, so we're just going to kind of lay that right there, just pushed it right over and just fold it over. Now I'm going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals, and we're going to add those to the back of our punched piece. And then we're just going to add that to our card front. And the last thing we'll do is add one of our little red rhinestones to the top of our tree. All right, again, you can put this wherever you want. I'm just going to put it right there. I'm going to take one of our little red rhinestones, and we are just going to put it right on the top of our tree, just like that. And there is our first card. All right. So again, very, very simple, very pretty. We kept it in our traditional Christmas colors. We've kind of created our own background paper with the stamping. Is that a glue stick? No, this is called a pick tool. So it's got like a putty end, and this is great for like picking up embellishments and putting them where you want them. And then the other side is just like a pointy pick piece. And then we have a little spatula. I don't really use the spatula piece so much, but these are refilled. This when it's empty, you can buy like replacements for that tip. Okay. And then we have our inside. So that is our first card. Now the next card that we're going to do, this is a series of 4 cards. Some people call it a one-sheet wonder, but we are going to take a full piece of our basic white cardstock, an 8.5 by 11 piece, and we are going to create right down the middle an image that we will use to make 4 cards. Let me show you the 4 cards. So the cards come out like this, because as you make them, then you cut them and you end up with 4 cards. So we're going to stamp down the middle on both ways, the short way and the long way. And then we're going to cut that cardstock into 4 pieces, and we're going to get 4 cards out of it. Now, I didn't know which color I wanted to mount it on, so I used 4 colors. I used early espresso, shaded spruce, soft suede, shaded spruce, mossy meadow, and real red. So, and I used some of those cards. I didn't use the soft suede, but I used those color cardstocks to make all of these cards. And then on the inside, I sort of decorated to match the color of the cardstock. So again, you'll stamp it and you'll end up with 4 cards. Quick, easy, and it's going to be so much fun to do this. All right, let me just put away the stamps from our first one. What did I do with my Stampin'? Okay, I don't know where I put I'll leave those out for now. Oh, it's right here. My goodness, I was looking for my Stampin' Chamois and I couldn't find it, but I found it. Okay. Ay. So let me just put these away real quick, because if not, I tend to lose things if I don't put them away when I'm done with them. So I always try to make sure I put stuff away right away. Okay, so for this particular card series, we're going to use the Christmas season, and these have some great, really just pine cones and holly. So we're just going to go ahead and some like spruce branches. We're just going to go ahead and use that. So I'm going to put our cardstock there. Now, again, this is, excuse me, photopolymers. So I am going to put my Stampin' Pierce mount. I will have to move my piece of paper around as I stamp. So I'm going to stamp first. I'm going to stamp the big pine cone first in soft suede. Whenever you're doing two-tone stamping, you always want to stamp your lighter color first. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to just put like a big pine cone in the middle. And then I'm just going to kind of branch out from there. Okay. And again, I might go a little bit off the paper. All right. Here we go. And like, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just going to put these on here and just hope for the best. That's really kind of all I'm going to do. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just stamping. Ooh, see, now that one kind of went off a little bit. All right. So I said I forgot to move it. So I forgot my own words of advice. All right. All right, so we've got that one. Now we're going to come back in with the overlay stamp, the one that goes on top, and we're going to stamp that in early espresso. Okay, because this is the darker of the two colors. And this is just going to give that pine cone some depth and dimension. Okay. So there we go. I'm just going to stamp all of these pine cones. Now I could fill in with little pine cones if I wanted to, but I think we have enough pine cones. So again, you know, it's your creation. You can do it however you want to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead now and I'm going to fill in with some like pine boughs. I've got these pine boughs. These I'm going to stamp in shaded spruce. I actually could have done evening evergreen. That would have been another good choice. But I liked the shaded spruce. So I'm just going to kind of, again, stamp these in a willy-nilly pattern. There's no rhyme or reason to how I'm going to be stamping these. I'm just going to be stamping them to just get some color in there. This is really all about just getting a bunch of color onto these pieces of paper. Okay. And we're going to add more stuff. So don't fret. There'll be more stuff coming. All right. All right. I can always go back and fill in. All right. Now we're going to go with our holly leaves. Where are the holly leaves? Here are the holly leaves. These I'm going to stamp in Mossy Meadow. And again, this is just the ones I just happened to pick. There was no hard and fast decision as to how I picked these. I just said, well, let me try these. And I'm kind of stamping over some of the other images. That's okay. It doesn't matter if we stamp over images that are already on our piece of paper. All right, now we've got those. All right, now maybe one more up here. Now let's fill in with some holly berries. These we're going to stamp in real red. Oh, I just stuck my finger in the ink pad. All right, so I'm just going to kind of stamp these where my holly leaves meet. And again, I am just stamping over the images that are already there. So again, there's no rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this. I am just trying to get these berries in there just to add some color. Let me move that out of the way. I don't really like to leave my inks open because I usually make a mess with them. But that happens sometimes, right? Okay. All right, so there we go. All right, now we've got this other little like background stamp. It's just a bunch of dots. And I am just going to kind of stamp this in some of the other places just to add a little bit more of that red color wherever I think I might want to add a little bit of color. Okay, so again, no rhyme or reason to how I decided to do this. I just wanted to put some color in here. All right, now I am going to go, first I'm going to go clean my hands because they're a mess. And then I'm going to go get my paper trimmer. So hang on for 1 second. I apologize, but I have real red all over my hands because I was not very neat as I opened up my ink case, which is usually the case with me. I'm kind of a mess when it comes to the inks. But like I always say, did you really even stamp if you didn't get ink all over your fingers? Okay, that's why I keep a bunch of baby wipes down here with me. Let me just clean up these stamps real quick because we're going to need these blocks to finish up our cards. All right. Close up another ink pad. All right. Now that we've got this all stamped, we're going to cut this in half. Okay. So I'm going to cut it down to, first I'm going to cut it to 4 1/4. Okay. And then I'm going to cut each of these into 5 1/2. Okay. Now I need to cut these down further, but I wanted to make sure that when I trim it from the end without a lot of stamping on it. So I'm going to cut these down to 4 by 5 1/4. And these will fit right on the front of our card bases. Okay, so that's why I wanted to cut the paper in half first, because now I'm only losing just a little tiny bit of that stamped image. So if I had done it the other way, I might have lost a lot more of my stamped image. And we worked so hard to stamp it, we don't want to miss a lot of our stamped image. So that's why I waited until I had cut it exactly in half before I went ahead and trimmed it down to the size I need for the front of my card. Okay. So, but now we could have gone a little wider. I mean, we could have made that border larger. I could have done more pine cones. I could have done, more spruce leaves. You could do whatever you want. You could, if you don't want to do a Christmas one, you could do this with the floral images. I mean, this particular technique will work with a lot of different stamp sets. Now, here's what you can do. You can either use this portrait, landscape, or you can use it portrait. You can use it where it's on the top, or you can flip it and use it where it's on the bottom. So there is no right way to how to use these stamped images. It really just depends upon how you want to use them. So I have some cards that open portrait, and I have some cards that open landscape. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put these on in either portrait or landscape mode. Okay. But before I do that, I want to stamp a sentiment on my cards. So I just took, this is the new Framed and Festive. This will be available for purchase on November 1st, unless you sign up as a consultant or a demo now, like before the 30th, like by October 31st. You can get this as part of your starter kit. So I'm just going to stamp "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," and I'm just going to stamp it all in our real red. Okay. I always like to say stamp, then stick. Now, in this case, if we do make a mistake, there's no coming back from it because we've already stamped our images. Okay, and I didn't put the label on this stamp correctly, so it's a little bit off. I'm trying to stamp it straight, but then the label sometimes throws me off. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and put these on our card fronts. Okay, we got that one there. We've got that one there. We've got this one there. All right. So how quick? We just made 4 cards in what, maybe 10 minutes? This is a really quick and easy technique, and you'll get 4 really beautiful cards out of it. You just take, oh no, don't tell me this one's not going to go right. Okay, no. I don't have time to mess with that one now, and this one's almost out. So we'll just put on 2 of these. We'll put on 1 landscape and we'll do 1 portrait. Now you see on this one, I wasn't paying attention, and I did get a little extra line of ink there because there was ink on my block and I wasn't paying attention. So we're just going to cover some of that up. I'm going to put a couple of gems there. Okay, I'm just going to put like some gems there, and then we'll put another one up here. And we've covered up most of that little bobble. Okay, and we've got a little thing over here. So we're going to put a gem there. See, and now we're covering up most of our little mistakes. There you go. So those are our 4 cards. Now I would go ahead and I would stamp. Let me show you what I've stamped on the inside. On the inside of each one, I stamped "From Our Home to Yours." So it says "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas from Our Home to Yours." And I've stamped a couple of pine branches on the shaded spruce one. I stamped the small pine cone on the early espresso card base. I just stamped some of those little dots on our real red card base. And I stamped some holly berries, some holly leaves and holly berries on our our Mossy Meadow. So those are our 5 quick and easy cards for this first Sweet and Simple Christmas card tutorial. I hope you like these. I think that if you try them, especially our One Sheet Wonder, I think you'll really be happy with the results. Remember, if you place an order on my website of $50 or more by Monday, October 31st, I will mail you out the cardstock, all cut down for you. I can't send you the stamped images, but I can send you the cardstock to make these 5 cards. All right, that's it. Make sure you use my host code 4ZEA4EADS. I will put this in the description again when I go up and update the description. That's it for me. Have a great week, everybody. I will see you next week for week 2 of our Sweet and Simple Christmas card tutorial. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.